for years, and I mean years. Thought I was doing everything right. I was reading the labels, I was watching the salt, and yet, every single morning, I was doing something that quietly worked against all of it. I didn't find out until I really started digging into the research on blood pressure after 60, and what I found stopped me cold. Here's what nobody tells you. By the time you pour your first cup of coffee and sit down for the day, your body has already been set on a course toward higher pressure or toward lower. The choices you make in that first hour aren't neutral. They either work for you or against you, and most people don't even realize a choice is being made. I've put together 6 daily habits that can genuinely support healthier blood pressure. And the first one on this list is the morning mistake almost everyone over 60 is making. It is the opposite of what you've been told. Stay with me, because if you do one thing differently tomorrow morning, make it that one. Before we get into it, tell me something. When did you first start paying attention to your blood pressure numbers? Was it a routine checkup that surprised you? Or did something else make you take notice? Drop your answer in the comment section. I genuinely want to know. Quick before we dive in. This channel only grows when real people decide it's worth their time. If you've ever felt like health content after 60 either talks down to you or scares you half to death, this is the channel I built to be different. If that feels true to you, subscribing right now costs you nothing, and it means everything to me. Let's start with something most people think they've already handled. Sodium. You've heard it 1,000 times. But here's the part that keeps catching people off guard. The problem almost never comes from the salt shaker. It comes from the packages. Canned soups, deli meats, bottled sauces, even bread. These foods are loaded with sodium that doesn't announce itself. The Mayo Clinic is very clear on this. Limiting sodium to around 500 milligrams per day for most adults can lower elevated blood pressure by roughly 5 to 6 millimeters of mercury. That's not a rounding error. That's meaning measurable change from a single dietary shift. Think of your cardiovascular system like a pressurized water line running through your house. The more dissolved mineral load in that line, the harder the pump has to work to push everything through. Excess sodium is essentially adding mineral buildup to the pipes. What I always tell people, spend 1 week reading the sodium on every label before you buy it, not to panic. Most people are genuinely shocked. A single can of soup can carry more than half your ideal daily ceiling before you've eaten anything else. Start there. And when in doubt, choose the lower sodium version or cook the base yourself and season it your way. Here's something the research backs up clearly. Regular physical movement, not marathon training, not gym memberships, just consistent daily movement genuinely supports healthier blood pressure in older adults. The National Institute on Aging specifically points to exercise as one of the key lifestyle changes that can help manage high blood pressure. The mechanism is elegant. Your heart is a muscle. When you ask it to work regularly, even through a brisk 20 or 30-minute walk, it gradually becomes more efficient. A more efficient heart doesn't have to push as hard to circulate blood, and that means lower resting pressure over time. I once heard from a woman named Carolyn. She was 67, had spent most of her career at a desk, and her doctor had been watching her numbers for 2 years. She wasn't ready for medication yet, but the trajectory worried her. She started with nothing more than a 25-minute walk each morning before breakfast. Within a couple of months, her readings had shifted noticeably in the right direction. She told me she hadn't felt that clear-headed in years. The key with movement isn't intensity, it's consistency. 5 days a week of moderate movement does more for your blood pressure than one exhausting weekend workout. If walking isn't comfortable, water aerobics, cycling, or gentle resistance exercises work just as well. The body responds to the pattern, not the performance. Pause for just a second here. Think back 5 or 6 years. Could you climb a flight of stairs, carry groceries in from the car, and still feel steady at the top, all without that slow, heavy fatigue settling in your chest? When did that quietly start to shift? Most people can't name the exact moment. That's the nature of blood pressure. It moves in silence, degrees at a time, which is exactly why the next few habits matter more than you might expect. These aren't dramatic overhauls. They're quiet levers, and they compound real quick. Someone once told me that putting together one of these videos takes maybe an hour. It actually takes closer to 2 full days of reading, fact-checking, scripting, and editing. And the only thank you that keeps it going is a free tap of the subscribe button. If this research is useful to you, that one tap is all I ask. This one trips people up because the relationship between alcohol and blood pressure isn't always obvious in the moment. A glass of wine with dinner feels relaxing, and in the short term, it can be. But habitual daily drinking, even at modest levels, has a measurable cumulative effect on blood pressure in older adults. Medical News Today, citing multiple natural lifestyle studies, includes reducing alcohol among the clear evidence-based changes that support healthier blood pressure. After 60, your liver processes alcohol more slowly, and the cardiovascular load adds up differently than it did at 40. The habit that felt moderate in your 50s may be working harder against you now. This isn't about elimination for most people. It's about honest self-assessment. If you're having a drink every night almost out of routine, it's worth testing a 2-week break and paying attention to how you feel and what your numbers do. Many people are genuinely surprised by the difference. A gentleman named Howard, 71, retired engineer, did exactly that after his wife nudged him. He'd been having 2 glasses of red wine nightly for years, convinced it was good for his heart. After 2 weeks without, he described sleeping more deeply and feeling less of that morning heaviness he just assumed was aging. His doctor noticed his readings had shifted. Now, this one is where I want you to pay close attention, because most conversations about blood pressure are entirely focused on what to cut out, and that matters. But there's another side to the equation that gets almost no airtime: what you need to add in. Potassium is the counterbalance to sodium inside your body. Think of them as 2 sides of a scale. When sodium tips the scale in one direction, pulling fluid into your bloodstream and raising the pressure inside your vessels, potassium pushes back. It helps your kidneys flush excess sodium out, which takes the load off your cardiovascular system. The American Association is clear that lifestyle and dietary changes are foundational to managing blood pressure and reducing the risk of serious downstream complications. And potassium-rich eating is a central pillar of that approach. Dark leafy greens, sweet potatoes, avocado beans, bananas. These aren't exotic superfoods. They're the most ordinary foods in the grocery store, and they work at a cellular level. The important caveat: if you're on certain medications, particularly potassium-sparing diuretics or ACE inhibitors, you'll want to check with your doctor before dramatically increasing potassium. For most healthy adults, though, eating more whole foods in this category is one of the quietest, most powerful daily choices you can make. What about you? Have you noticed any difference in how you feel on days you eat more whole vegetables versus more packaged food? I'm genuinely curious whether that matches what the research shows. Tell me in the comments. Before we get to the top of this list, let's talk about something that most people intellectually know but practically ignore. Chronic stress raises blood pressure. And after 60, the sources of stress don't disappear. They just change shape. Retirement transitions, health worries, family dynamics, the low hum of financial uncertainty. These things keep your stress response system quietly activated day after day. And a chronically activated stress response keeps cortisol and adrenaline circulating, which tells your blood vessels to stay narrowed and your heart to stay on high alert. The pressure never fully drops. The research on natural blood pressure management consistently names stress reduction as a meaningful, evidence-backed lifestyle lever, not a soft, feel-good add-on. And the good news is the tools are simple. Slow, deliberate diaphragmatic breathing, where you extend the exhale longer than the inhale, directly signals your nervous system to shift out of that high alert state. Even 5 minutes of this in the morning, before the day's noise starts, can shift your physiological baseline. A woman named Dolores, 64, cared for an elderly parent for 3 years, described her blood pressure as always just a little too high, no matter what I ate. When she finally began a short morning stillness practice after her mother passed, she said it was the first time in years her body felt like it belonged to her again. Her numbers followed. Now we are down to the one that sits at the top of this list. The habit that, when I first came across the evidence behind it, genuinely stopped me mid-read. It connects everything we've talked about. It's the one that most people have completely backwards. And it starts the moment you wake up. The morning mistake, and it isn't what you think. Most people, the moment they open their eyes, reach immediately for their phone. And within seconds, they're reading messages, checking news, scanning social media. And what that does to your blood pressure in the first 20 minutes of the day is significant. Your cortisol is already at its natural morning peak. That's biology. Cortisol is supposed to be high in the morning. It's what wakes you up. But when you immediately feed your nervous system a stream of notifications and headlines before it has had a single moment of quiet calibration, you compound that cortisol spike. You are essentially hitting the accelerator on a system that was already revving. Your vessels narrow, your heart rate climb, and you begin your day already in a mild stress response. Plus, it sets the tone for everything that follows. The fix is almost insultingly simple. Leave the phone face down for the first 20 minutes after you wake up. Do something slow instead. Drink a full glass of water, sit near a window, breathe deliberately. That single shift, practiced daily, breaks the cortisol spike cycle at its very root. It also pairs powerfully with everything else on this list. Your body is most receptive to the potassium in your breakfast, the calm of your movement, and the rhythm of your breathing when it hasn't been thrown into alert mode before the day even starts. The American Heart Association is clear that lifestyle changes, not just medication, are foundational to managing blood pressure and protect your heart, your kidneys, and your quality of life. This is where lifestyle change actually begins. Before breakfast, before the walk, before any of it. 20 minutes of quiet before the noise claims the day. I want to ask you something honestly. Which of these 6 habits do you already do? And which one are you going to try first? Tell me in the comments. I read through them, and I want to know what's actually landing. And if this finally gave you a concrete place to start, tap the like button before you keep scrolling. It costs you nothing, and it gets this information in front of someone else who needs. Here's what I want you to really sit with. None of these 6 habits works in isolation the way they work together. The low sodium eating reduces the load. The potassium counterbalances what's left. The movement makes your heart more efficient. The alcohol reduction removes an invisible accelerant. The stress tools keep cortisol from running the show. And the morning phone discipline ensures that all of those other habits get to work on a nervous system that started the day in calm, not chaos. This is a system, and systems compound. The National Institute on Aging puts it plainly. Getting more exercise and having less salt are among the changes that can genuinely help control blood pressure in older adults. But it's never just one thing, it's the daily pattern. So let's bring this home. 6 habits. Less sodium from processed food. Consistent daily movement. Reducing habitual alcohol. More potassium on your plate. Active daily stress management. And the morning phone discipline that sets the foundation for all of it. Here's my challenge to you. Pick just one of these today, not all 6. 1. Commit to it for 30 days and pay attention. Your body will tell you something is shifting. Give yourself time. These changes support blood pressure over weeks and not overnight. But they are real, and they work with the body you have right now. A body that has carried you through decades of life and deserves better than being written off as just getting older. You are not declining on a schedule. You are making choices, and that is remarkable. Now, I have been putting together a follow-up to this video on sleep and blood pressure, specifically how the quality of your sleep after 60 can quietly undo everything you're doing right during the day. It might be the piece most people are completely missing. I'd love for you to be there when it goes up. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is the moment. Not because of an algorithm, but because I genuinely don't know you're out there unless you do. Let me know you're real. 1 tap. And finally, I want to know, when did you first notice your blood pressure becoming something you had to? Was it gradual, or was there a specific moment? Share it below. Those stories matter to me and to everyone else watching this. Take care of yourself. I mean that.